Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Electrician. That's the guy you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations and everything else you need to know. Now let's get right into it. This character is going to be a stealth berserker unarmed build, and on paper this does seem relatively straightforward. Just get your stealth abilities right and, well, go for it. But stick with me here. It's going to be relatively interesting, I think, because there are quite some turns and twists to this character that I made while, well, working on it. So the first thing that I really found to be a problem is, yeah, there's a good reason I never really was looking into stealth melee or unarmed builds in this game, because unless you're using unyielding, which obviously most people do, if you do that you don't have a whole lot of problem, because due to your extremely high agility you're naturally good with sneaking, and you shouldn't have a problem. Now the real problem arises once you have a full health build, because there's simply no real perfect solution for armor. What I mean is that, yeah, usually if you are a stealth build, you just put on chameleon armor and you're basically as invisible as it gets. I think full set of unyielding armor with extremely high agility could be a bit more beneficial on a usual character than a set of chameleon armor. But yeah, they're pretty much on par in my opinion. Now the problem is with melee that you really have to get really close to enemies, meaning that while you're moving, which you're doing a lot, your chameleon effect doesn't work. It only works if you're stationary, which isn't a problem if you're using a handmade or anything, because you keep a little bit of range, stand still and just pick enemies from there. It's something you do very unconsciously. It just happens that way. On melee, this isn't really an option. Now, I still went for chameleon armor, and what I did here, as you already saw probably, is I integrated vats into the gameplay quite heavily. Simple reason: first and foremost, if you're going for such trash mobs like here, the ghouls here or anything, the chameleon effect still works relatively well, because yeah, you're stopping to move a few meters away from your enemy, and you can use vats to close the distance that's left. You have kind of an inbuilt blitz effect, if you remember that from Fallout 4. As you can see here, it's not super far, but it's definitely noticeable. So it helps a lot in my opinion. And another thing is, if you're in crowded situations, you don't have to move anymore. Like, you basically just sit there and use vats, trying to find the nearest target, and oftentimes you will see that you don't have to move, but rather just blitz from one enemy to another. Now sure, it would be cool if there were some legendary effects or some perk that you could improve that range, but it is as it is. And the more important thing is, I guess we will see that sooner rather than later here on this character, that on tougher targets that take multiple hits, those are the ones that usually detect you on a stealth melee build. So going through a horde of ghouls or anything is always relatively doable, if you ask me. But going for something like Scorched Beast or Sheep Squatch, yeah, that's when problems arise, because you have to move in order to keep up with them, and you have to hit them multiple times. Sooner rather than later they usually detect you. Now on this occasion we have multiple ways to tackle that. First is the one I mentioned already: we're using vats, meaning that even if the enemy that doesn't know where we are moves out of range a little bit, or so we can't just hit it anymore, we can somewhat follow him with vats. And another thing is, you obviously can add quite a lot of damage to your playstyle by using vats in terms of legendary effects. And lastly, we do have stealth boys, which work kind of well. We have a little bit of a perk investment going on with them, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how we tackle those situations. I guess when we're fighting um, the Soltron, I might be inclined to think that, yeah, that would be a good situation for Stealth Boy. So I know those are consumables and some people don't really like to use them, but I really don't think you have to use them all the time. There's just certain situations. By the way, I'm not going to bother with the Scorch Beast, simply because it won't land all that soon, and perfectly, I never saw a graphed monster here, but works very well. Also works to show off something else. Now, you won't really see it because I have a Stealth Boy active, but I just shot this graphed monster with a um, syringe. Now he's going to back up a whole lot, so I have to shoot him again, I guess. But the reason for it is, well, why should I do that? I mean, a syringe is never good. Yeah, it's another interesting thing here that I'm doing, which is, for those of you who don't know, we are using the follow through perk, and initially that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because, yeah, what the follow through perk does is it gives you multiplicative damage after you do a ranged sneak attack on an enemy. Now, most people just assume, yeah, you have to use a ranged weapon in order to do this, which is kind of true, but only half true. Simply, as you saw there, you do have to start with a ranged weapon, but once you have a stealth attack with a ranged weapon on an enemy, he gets this debuff for the next 10 seconds. And yeah, that means we can utilize melee, quite simply. It's what I've done here, and you can do that with pretty much every single ranged weapon. Obviously, a suppressed weapon works better for, yeah, obvious reasons. And I just went for the syringe because it felt like, yeah, it's a fitting weapon for such a scientist kind of character. And other than that, you see, we don't really need that damage buff, but yeah, it helps quite a lot on bigger targets. And one thing to keep in mind is, since this is my melee build and I'm not doing this all that often, my follow through perk isn't really maxed out. I think it's the rank 1 or 2 maximum. I think it's rank 1 even, so yeah, 10 or 20% extra damage. But we're gonna take them. And on the plus side, another nice thing you can do with the syringe here is it's actually quite fun. I made it into a Blowfly syringe, Blowfly larva syringe, I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, and what I like to do is roaming around White Springs, for example. Yeah, I shoot 1 or 2 ghouls with it, then kill them, and consistently shoot the bloatflies that come out of them again. So basically what you can do is, since you are in stealth, you can just watch how your enemies fight a bloatfly over and over again. And yeah, maybe we even show that off here. Just want to get into a good vantage point so we can see the drama unfold. Yeah, let's do it on this guy here. Okay, I forgot we still need some grenades. Oh, there's another one. Is he going to die? Was slightly out of range, I think. And there you can see it. That's the bloatfly. Now goes for the other enemies. And well, you can just shoot the bloatfly, meaning that if the legendary Wendigo, if the Wendigo kills the bloatfly, we immediately get a new one. This obviously isn't a very powerful way of dealing damage. It's just fun to do. As you can see here, the ghouls can handle the bloatfly relatively well, but on the other side, the bloatfly is able to do some serious damage. And not to speak that some enemies have hard time killing these flying enemies. So yeah, you can basically do that over and over again. It's also relatively fun because it's basically unlimited XP, but yeah, enough of that. We're just going to finish the job with our gauntlet here. By the way, the reason I went for a berserker's approach here is quite simple. I crafted two different gauntlets, and I was actually pretty lucky. Both of them were swing speed, and the other was even a junky swing speed one, which would have been better in my opinion because we could have used armor. The simple reason I didn't use that one is that, yeah, the last melee build I did was a junkies build, so yeah, I didn't want to do that again. And since we're going to use stealth anyways, yeah, we might as well use a berserker's weapon. Now, keep in mind we could have a little bit more damage because obviously we're not perfectly at zero resistances. I think we're either at -1 or at 2 resistance or something, and that's significantly screws over with our damage. We could have a little bit more, but we're still getting quite a good benefit from it, and so yeah, it's fun. Now, this build works in first person very well in my opinion. I love the gauntlet with the shock pads. It somehow reminds me of old world blues a little bit, for no particular reason. Maybe just because it was such a science related DLC, but yeah, who knows. Okay, let's get to this guy here. As you can see, if we start with a sneak attack and a critical hit, we can drop these enemies quite easily in one hit. Now also we have a chance to proc our explosive palm perk, so that's a thing. And yeah, I think we ran out of grenades now, but that shouldn't be a problem. For this situation here, maybe we pop another stealth boy. Guess it wouldn't have been necessary. One thing you can do is just pick the enemies off in another order. Can make it quite easy, but yeah, no problem whatsoever so far. I don't bother to use the syringa on enemies that aren't super tough, so those guys go down in 2 hits. There's nothing that really would have been beneficial if we used the syringa. The extra damage would be nice and we would probably one-shot these guys, but on the other hand we have to switch between weapons, have to shoot them with a syringa and so on, so yeah, not a lot of time that's spared there. Sometimes the syringa can be nice to just draw attention, which seems a bit counterproductive on a stealth build, but on the other hand, yeah, you maybe don't want to sneak over a wide area, and yeah, you can just shoot these enemies and sooner or later they will find their way into your direction while still not having a clue who exactly you are. Restart here. It can be, yeah, times can be a bit tough once you get into an enemy where your AP isn't enough. There's not really anything you can do about the action point consumption of melee weapons. There aren't less vats cost effects for melee weapons for some reason. I mean, we do have Stalker's effect, but yeah, we don't have Medic's effect or faster vats crits, less vats cost, or things that would actually make sense on melee weapons. Yeah, those we don't have, but we do have Stalkers, so if you really wanna be... Yeah, that was a joke, no. Stalkers is just useless, especially on melee weapons. And I think so far we haven't been detected a single time, which is nice. Now this guy here could be a bit of a problem because keep in mind we are a Berserker's character, we are very squishy. This is basically a glass cannon build. Once we are detected, there's no surviving, I guess. You can try to do a lot with stealth, with stimpaks, but yeah. Okay, this guy here detected us. Well, imagine it wasn't assassins. I know assassins gets a buff, but yeah, it's still not going to be a super good weapon, sadly. And since the legendary crafting wasn't exactly what people pictured, let's put it that way, I guess, yeah, that weapon will be script. bit of a gun fu chain here, so we are at 20% extra damage, which is nice. Could have been a contender for the Syringer, but yeah, we had no problem otherwise. Keep in mind it's a melee build, or well, not a melee build, an unarmed build, so we can do quite a lot with buffs, which I'm not going to use here, but yeah, basically all the food buffs in the world that really benefit you, and then you can do drugs in addition to it, so yeah, room for improvement, let's put it that way. Yeah, level 100 Hound. Now another noticeable thing about this character is that for a melee build, we do have relatively low strength. Now, you can imagine I really tried to get agility up. That was my priority even before stealth, because after all, 1 or 2 more strength would not give me the same benefit as being in stealth all the time. Not only from a damage perspective, but also for survivability. So stealth was my main priority, meaning that on multiple occasions I made some kind of a compromise. Think about under armor, where usually I would go for something that boosts my strength, but since we don't have anything that boosts strength and agility as well, I went for shielded road ladders that give me extra agility, which seem to be more beneficial than a bit extra strength. Same goes for mutations. I do have bird bones and eagle eyes, which both have severe drawbacks when it comes to strength. I obviously use Class Freak to mitigate that for a bit, but yeah, it's still yet another 2 debuff to our strength. So we are, if I recall correctly, at what is it? Okay, this was a bit stupid. I was standing there for too long, but yeah, we're already back in stealth. Yeah, that was a bit of a stupid way of me to approach the whole situation. Basically, you don't want to be in the middle of the fight, but pick off the enemies that are around. And that was too comfortable talking about all that stealth and all that. But yeah, it's just a death in Fallout 76 that's not going to hold us back, and couldn't have been avoided quite easily. Yeah, back to the topic. So overall we are at 15 strength, which still, obviously, it seems like, yeah, 15 strength, that's max strength basically. But for a melee build, that's really low actually. You can see here, it definitely got better with the update, but yes, vats on melee can still be a bit stupid. You can obviously perfectly fine kill enemies without vats though, so that's something I just tend to forget. I stand there with vats waiting for it to give me a hit chance, but yeah, I could just use a manual attack, power attack even, and well, yeah, overall 15 strength, not a whole lot for a melee character. It's not unusual to see melee characters with 20 and above strength, so yeah. That's what I was talking about earlier, by the way. Just close the gaps a little bit and then go in with your vats. I'm not quite sure why these guys are all detecting me. I'm not sure. Usually I have a pretty easy time clearing out this here area without being detected. So not quite sure what's wrong at the moment. So where's that last guy? Okay, there he is. This is what I meant by drawing his attention. Just gets a little bit closer, so we don't have to move a whole lot. Okay, the Blowfly directly flew into our additional swing, so yeah, that problem solved itself pretty easily. Well, anyways guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. Yeah, that's the Electrician. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly think it's a whole lot of fun, nice playstyle. Obviously, you can use other melee weapons as well, whatever you feel like. Keep in mind, unarmed gives us a little bit of more room to defensive perks and so on, but ultimately you don't really need them, so yeah, go for whatever you like here. It just was more a purpose of, yeah, talking a little bit about stealth and melee for me, since I had trouble coming up with a build that really worked well other than a bloodied build. So therefore, yeah, that was it, and now we're going to take a look at the more in-depth information about the build. So first and foremost, we're going to take a look at our mutations. As you can see here, we do have Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Marsupial, Speed Demon, Talons, and Twisted Muscles. Now, Talons, Twisted Muscle, both give us extra damage, and in addition to that, we have a chance to cripple and adding bleed damage. All very beneficial to us. -1 agility, that's a bit of a bummer, but yeah, it's only -1, and we do have a lot of buffs in that regard. So yeah, we can definitely live with that. And well, negative gun accuracy, we don't use guns. The only gun we use is the syringe, and we just go for body shots, so we don't really need a whole lot of accuracy there. Then we have Speed Demon. We don't reload any weapon in particular. I mean, we do reload the syringe, but it's nothing we need to reload a whole lot. It's just for one initial shot. The main reason to use Speed Demon here is to have extra movement speed, which is really nice if you're closing the gaps between you and an enemy. It doesn't sound like a lot, but really trying this without Speed Demon makes for a big difference. I didn't have Speed Demon on this character actually when I started this build, and it felt very slow and tedious, but with Speed Demon it definitely felt better. Marsupial, pretty straightforward. We always have Marsupial, more carry weight, more jump height especially. Yeah, those are really important. And here are the two controversial mutations. We do have Bird Bones and Eagle Eyes. Bird Bones, yeah, -1 strength, reduced fall damage. Mainly we want that extra agility. And Eagle Eyes, well, perception doesn't do a whole lot to us. We do have a negative to our strength, but the extra 25% crit damage excuse me, oh sorry, the extra 25% crit damage, I felt like it was really beneficial, but yeah, that's some bit of personal preference. You might be better off not using it. I ultimately went for it just because, yeah, I wanted to reinvest into vats. Okay, sorry, I think I'm done now. Ooh. Okay, onto our equipment. This is our armor. We do have one set of chameleon marine armor. Obviously we left everything to be broken, and I just saw that I basically healed off one of the addictions I had, so yeah, keep in mind we could have had a little bit more damage here, because we could have actually been down to zero resistances, but I will show it off in a minute. So nothing out of the ordinary here. I tried to have a little bit of extra luck pieces here, just so I could get a critical on every third hit, which ultimately proved to be quite important. Having a crit every third hit rather than every fourth hit, that makes a big difference. And then we have one AP refresh piece, but yeah, as you see, I just let that all break so it doesn't interfere with our Berserker's mutation, and that's it. Now here is our weapon, a Berserker's swing speed gauntlet with the shock pads and less damage while power attacking. So very good weapon here in my opinion. I mean, it's a Berserker's, obviously. Bloodied would be super good. Junkies, anti-armor, vampires, instigating. There's quite a few things that could work quite well here, but for our purposes, yeah, Berserkers was quite fitting because we already had a sneak build, so our damage resistance isn't really all that important. As you can see here, we do have 208 damage and 42 energy damage. Now let's see, hopefully I have enough Psycho here so we can make that work, but okay, addicted to all Psycho cams, meaning that we now should, yeah, okay, we still are under the effect of Psycho, so let's do something else. Does Medex cancel it? No, it doesn't. Do Mantads cancel it? No, they don't. Does Colmax cancel it? No, it doesn't. Does Day Tripper? No, it don't. Okay, maybe we just revisit the situation in a second. Let's take a look at our perks here. We are at strength 15. We do have traveling pharmacy just to keep a little bit more stimpaks and so on with me. Then we do have Iron Fist, a little bit more damage with our shock pads, obviously. Blocker, quite important here if we get detected. Yeah, protects us from melee hits quite effectively. 45% less damage from your melee opponents. Very powerful, especially since we don't have any defense. So keep that in mind. Then we do have Incisor and Martial Artist. Those two are basically the most powerful perks in my opinion for any melee or unarmed build. Armor penetration, 75%, that's a lot of extra damage basically, and swing speed, well, that's just directly increasing your DPS. In terms of perception, we only have one, we didn't really have room for more. I would maybe have used Grenadier just so the grenades we were playing with here and there are a bit more potent, but ultimately I went for Fire in the Hole because, yeah, as I said, we're using grenades every now and then. The pulse grenades I find very amusing, fitting the character very well, and since we're using them from stealth, we do have time to really tactically use them, and with Fire in the Hole we can do that. Then we have Endurance at rank 3. Yeah, quite simple. We are a glass cannon, so we have relatively low endurance, and the top priority here was fireproof, just so we have a little bit of resistance in terms of explosives. So nothing out of the ordinary here. Then for Charisma, only rank 3 with Tenderizer, just to give us extra damage with follow-up shots or hits. Keep in mind, synergizes quite well with when we are using our Syringa in order to get the follow-through bonus. However, it's only for 10 seconds, and well, yeah, it's the same for follow through. So yeah, you really have to shoot the enemy and really try to be in range already in order to attack him. But yeah, it also works with just Tenderize also works with our melee attacks, so yeah, just our follow-up hits are more powerful. Then we do have Intelligence of 8. Now we do have Makeshift Warrior here at rank 5 and Demolition Expert at rank 3. This isn't the perfect solution in my opinion. In a perfect world I would have loved to have rank 5 of Demo Expert and rank 3 of Makeshift Warrior. Makeshift Warrior just so our weapon doesn't break all that fast. The thing is, currently melee weapons seem to break relatively fast, so I had to adjust a little bit and used Makeshift Warrior rank 5, but keep in mind, once everything's settled and done, I would like to switch those two. Rank 3 of Makeshift Warrior just to have a little bit less condition loss, and rank 5 of Demo Expert to give us yet a bit more damage potential with our grenades, which are, by the way, also boosted and carry our Berserker's effect. So as long as you have your gauntlet equipped, your grenades will do extra damage. Keep that in mind. And now, other than strength, these are the most important stats here. We do have agility at 15 with Ninja, Sneak, Escape Artist, Gunfu, Secret Agent, and Adrenaline. Adrenaline, pretty obviously, more damage as long as you kill enemies, so that's a pretty straightforward perk here. Secret Agent at rank 2, obviously rank 3 would be nicer, but yeah, 3 times as much duration from Stealth Boys, that's enough for basically most endgame fights. Unless you're fighting bosses like the Queen or anything, but it's firstly not really a build I would recommend you to do that with, and secondly, if you do, yeah, you may run through 2 or 3 stealth boys, but that's about it. Gunfu at rank 1. Quite simply, we just want to have the ability to swap enemies after killing them in vats immediately. Doesn't work as well with melee weapons as it does with ranged ones, but every now and then it works quite nice. For example, the grounds around the White Spring area where the ghouls are there, it works relatively well if you are in third person, so it definitely feels nice if it works. Then we do have Escape Artist and Sneak. Those are very straightforward for a stealth character. Sneak obviously just makes us harder to detect, and Escape Artist, well, if we are detected we can get back into caution relatively easy, and also you have the muffled mutation basically, like if this perk is active, yeah, you don't make any noise while moving, which is very important for our character. And lastly, we do have Ninja. Now, first and foremost, it's bugged, and I can't really confirm in which way. So, some reports say that it doesn't show 3 times sneak attack damage while giving it. Others say it doesn't work at all. I had a bit of a hard time confirming this, simply because, yeah, finding out what the base damage that's multiplied is on your weapon is quite stupid with melee weapons, because, yeah, not only do you have to remove all the damage perks and all the damage boosting perks, all the damage boosting mutations and everything, like you do with ranged weapons, but in addition, yeah, the base damage of your weapon is the damage you would deal at 1 strength, which is super stupid in my opinion, meaning that, yeah, an instigating Deathclaw Gauntlet, for example, has something around, like, let's say 230 damage on a standard melee build, on a good melee build, and yeah, the instigating effect adds something like 30 damage, I think. I tested this with the Deathclaw Gauntlet, that's why I used that example. Switching it to one of my characters before there were loadouts that only has 1 strength due to debuffs and so on, and no damage perks. I think the only thing I had was Bloody Mess, and still I was doing 30 damage with the Deathclaw Gauntlet or something. So it's pretty hilarious. It's also something that screws over continuously with basically every effect. Yeah, it's something they really have to look into, I think. Make strength multiplicative again, for that regard at least. But that's not the point of the video here. On to luck, we do have Grim Reaper Sprint, Better Criticals, Class Freak, Storage Genes and Critical Savvy. So this was basically the stat where I fiddled around the most, I guess. Trying different things, using Grim Reaper Sprint, don't use it. Going for Critical Savvy or going for Psychopath and Four Leaf Clover. Class Freak was just something I wanted to have. I really wanted to have, simply because otherwise we do have a debuff of 8 to our strength, which is too much of a compromise. I wouldn't have wanted to do that. So ultimately what I went for here, Class Freaks, just so our debuffs from mutations aren't as important, don't matter all that much. Very important perk on this build here. Starch Genes, yeah, this is very basic. Yeah, we just want to keep our mutations and don't get any new ones. And, well, Critical Savvy, Better Criticals and Grim Reaper Sprint are basically the standard 3 perks in my opinion for a vats based build, and they seem to work best on this one as well. So we're boosting the damage with our criticals, as I said during the video. We're getting a critical on every 3rd hit. Every 2nd one would be nice. Doesn't work with the full health build here though, so unless you can utilize certain consumables and buffs to get yourself up to 33 or 34 luck, but yeah, I'm not sure if that's all that viable. Every 3rd one it is, and that's quite good. The criticals do definitely give a lot more damage than the standard attacks due to all the buffs we do have. Grim Reaper Sprint quite easily gives us back AP every now and then when we're killing an enemy. Helped us really well. After all, yeah, for most mobs I say you can kill like 2 to 3 enemies before you run out of AP. We do have relatively fast AP refresh, but it's not too good. Like, we want to have Grim Reaper Sprint here. And lastly, Critical Savvy, yeah, as I said already. Then on to our legendary perks. We do have Intelligence, Strength, Agility and Luck, so quite a few stats that are buffed by our legendary perks. The more interesting ones here are Exploding Palm and Follow Through. Now, I just saw that somewhere in the time I removed one legendary effect that is quite important, or could give us quite the extra edge, which is the one that gives you a chance to do an explosive effect when we hit an enemy in vats, which would obviously be very beneficial on this character here. But yeah, let's just see, unequip this card here, where it is, Hack and Slash, I think it is. Yeah, Hack and Slash it is. So this could have boosted our damage quite a bit, but as you saw during the video, I think doing damage wasn't really a problem for us. Now here it is, follow through, extra 20% damage for 10 seconds after a ranged sneak damage to an enemy, so that's when we shoot them with a syringe. Even though the syringe doesn't do a whole lot, it does like 2 damage or something, but that's enough to proc the effect, and then we get 20% multiplicative extra damage to the enemy for the next 10 seconds, which is a huge buff. And lastly here, while unarmed, 10% chance of triggering an explosion. You saw that happen during the video. One of the better explosive legendary perks in my opinion. Exploding palm. And yeah, that's it for the video, and now we can take another look at our weapon, because yeah, we do have the Psycho Addiction for -10 damage resistance, which means we are perfectly at 0 damage resistance, getting full effect from our Berserker's Gauntlet, and we are up to 209 damage and 44 electric damage. So what was it before? 208 damage, is that correct? Well, anyways, that's our Berserker's Gauntlet in perfect condition basically. Doesn't really get better than this. Also gotta admit, the character looks has a great aesthetic in dark. Sorry, that wasn't planned here. I just wanted to go into the photo gallery. Yeah, in the night, the shock pads really add something. I like how they look. They give up this little mist surrounding them, especially at night. It's very visible, and yeah, it makes for a really cool aesthetic. I love those, love the gauntlets. Even though they're not the most powerful weapon in the unarmed weapon, I think the difference between them and the Power Fist aren't too important to not use the gauntlet. So that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed the videos, guys. And basically what I'm planning to do is this week, all of my builds that I'm uploading, and will probably be like 3 or something like that, will have a bit of a science theme. There's no particular reason for it, it just happened to be like that, and I maybe wanna stick with something like this for the future, where every week has a little bit of a theme going on. This could be a faction, or something like tribals maybe, or think about Fallout 3 builds or Fallout 4, New Vegas builds, where the whole week all the builds will have kind of an aesthetic that fits another game, or yeah, any theme really. This one's going to be science. Let's see if we stick with it or not, but I guess at least Science Week is saved. So have a nice time, guys, and bye.